Hey guys, it's Mike from Lumin Lights here, and this is going to be one of the videos in our repair series. Now, some of you may get a light from time to time that comes in damaged or something burns out on it. It happens. We have 2-year parts and labor warranty on all our products, so you can send it back into us and we'll take care of it. Or for those of you who have a show coming up right away and you need to get this fixed ASAP and back up and running, we can send you the parts if you're technically inclined. If you're not technically inclined or you're brave, you can watch this video and we'll show you some basic steps to take right now. Now let's say, for example, we have our slick par 5 here, and I've removed the screws from the cover because we're going to open this up in a second just to save time. But say, for example, you have no power. There's nothing coming out of the light after you plug it in. First thing you want to check is if there's no power at all, pop this fuse, and you would do that simply by taking a straight edge screwdriver, as so, and prying open the little tab. There's a little tab here, and if you pick this up gently, here is the fuse holder. Different lights have different styles of fuse holders, but here's the fuse holder, and it's a little mini fuse. It's a 3 amp 250 volt mini fuse, fast blow fuse, which means that if it gets too much current, it'll blow right away. It won't. There's slow blow fuses that'll take longer. The reason the fuse is in there is to protect the electronic circuitry inside the light to prevent other things from getting damaged. So you would basically take the fuse out of the little holder and take a look at the fuse, and you should see a little wire inside the fuse. For those of you, again, if you know all this and this seems kind of stupid, I apologize, but for those of you who are not electronically inclined, there's a little wire inside the fuse that makes the connection. If the wire is gone, or you don't see a wire, it's blown, you could first try replacing the fuse. And if that works, then that was the issue. You could have had an electrical surge at a catering hall, wherever you're using the light, that popped the fuse. Replace the fuse and pop it back in. If you replace the fuse and it still doesn't work, then we have to do a little exploration inside the light. There are 8 screws on the corners here, and then remove the plate. So we've removed those already, and we can take this off. And now let's look off the LED board. These are the lenses. This is the heat sink, and attached to the heat sink, or I should say the heat sink is attached to the LED board. That's the circular aluminum piece right here, and the LEDs are on top of the board, right underneath the lenses. There is a cable that attaches to the LED board and goes from that down to this square unit right here, which is the control board. Now, if sometimes you get a unit and half the lights are working or not working, it might be simply a case that the plug is a little loose. So all you would do basically is just push this back in place and make sure it's seated all the way, and then hopefully the LEDs will all come on if some of them are off. But further, if we have no light, we can look at the power supply. Let's take this out of here for now, so just we have this out of the way. Alright. Now, looking at what other components are left in there, there's not much. It's kind of a simple looking. We've got a lot of empty space here. That's for the heat to be pulled out from the fan. We have our fan, which cools the LED board. We have our control board, and this is which has all the ROMs, the read-only memory chips that store the programs and all the capacitors and all the resistors and all that good stuff. And then below that, we have the power supply. Now, when you plug in the unit, if the power supply is working, you should see a little LED light right there. If you could see that, and if the camera's catching that, right there, there's a little LED light, and you'll see it turn off now when I unplug the light. There we go, it just faded out. So if your light has no power, you're not getting any power, and the fuse is okay, open it up, plug it in. If you don't see that little LED light, that means that the power supply is bad and it needs to be swapped out. If the power supply is working and you're still not getting any light coming out at all, and the LCD is not working at all, meaning you're not seeing any of the digits light up, then chances are you have a bad control board or a loose connection somewhere. Most likely it's a bad control board. It needs to be swapped out. You have LCD display, but you have nothing coming out of the lights. It could be you have something set wrong. You might have the light in slave mode, and if it's not getting a DMX signal, no light will come out of the light. It's waiting to get a command signal through the DMX in order to tell it what to do. But let's assume again that we have a faulty part. Now, if we want to get at the power supply, going back to our hypothetical example that the power supply is bad, we need to get to the power supply. Now, we've got this control board in the way, and it looks like it's attached to the power supply, but it's actually not. It's on a little metal plate that attaches to the bottom of the housing by itself. To do that, we need to gain access. We can remove this side panel. Here we go. This piece right here slides right out. This is part of the housing, the bottom of the unit. That slides right out. There are the little grooves here on the sides of the light where that slides in. You can see that up close. And now when we take that plate out, this whole unit, this silver unit with all the holes in it for the ventilation, that is the power supply. And then this piece of metal right here is the support where the control panel is mounted. Now to take the power supply out, we need to remove two screws. And they're diagonally from each other. There's one right down there. It's a green screw all the way down here where my finger is, if you can see that. And then there's one on the other side, and it's all the way down here. Again, right where my middle finger is pointing, if you can see that down there. Take out those two screws, and then the power supply can slide out through the opening in the side, right here on the light. And then the only other thing you have to do, there are two wires on connectors here. Make a note of where the wires come from. In other words, we have a brown wire and a blue wire on this unit. The brown wire is on the first screw. The blue wire is on the middle screw. Very important to remember where the wires go, because if you swap them the wrong way and you put the blue where the brown is or vice versa, you'll burn something out on the light. And just for those of you who want to know why there's two sets of wires, this is coming from the power connector, so this is the AC line. Actually, if you switch these, it doesn't matter with AC, because AC, the electricity travels both ways. It alternates the current. So that's not as critical. What is critical is the other side where the black and the red wire are, right there. And there's only two screws, so there's only two wires, and you have to make sure that the red wire is on the plus side. There might be a little plus on the power supply, and the black is on the negative. If you swap these, you will instantly burn out your control board, because you've got DC current coming out of here, 12 volts DC. And if you put it the wrong way, it will burn this out. So now I'm going to take the screws out so we can get our power supply using a standard Phillips screwdriver. I'm going to go right down here and here's one screw. Almost got it out. And the other screw. There we go. And now sometimes you might have to just wiggle this a little bit, because there is a plastic shield that kind of partially covers the screws, so they may not come out. Or if you have a pair of needle nose pliers, you can grab the screw to pull it out. Or if you can just lift the power supply while you're loosening with the screwdriver. There we go. So I got that side out, and the other side I'm going to leave in partially. Oh no, I took that one totally out as well. So now we can't get this out yet because the wires are holding it in place. So now what you need to do is get yourself a small straight edge screwdriver, small tipped straight edge screwdriver, such as this unit right here. That's a small tip to get onto the screws, or in this case you can use a Phillips screwdriver, because these are actually bigger, so we'll use our same Phillips screwdriver. And remember, on the AC side, I still like to put the wires in the same way, even though it doesn't make a difference. Brown is on top, blue is on the bottom. So you're not going to take these screws out, you're basically just going to loosen them just so that the wire can get out, because all this is a screw on top of a metal plate, and as you screw the screw down, it sandwiches the metal plate against the bottom of the plate, and that holds the wires in place. So brown on top, blue on the bottom. They're loose, so I'm basically just gonna gently pull those out. There we go, the wires are out. Now the power supply can tilt to the side, and I can get it out that way. And now the power supply is out. Now, while it's out, or if you haven't got enough room while it's still in, take off the other two screws that are holding those wires in, and remember which way the wires went in. In this case, black on the top, as you're looking at the bottom of the unit, black on the top, red on the bottom, or black goes to minus, red goes to positive. And get your new power supply, slide it back in the same way this one came out, put your red wire to the positive, your black wire to the negative, slide this in, put your brown wire on top, your blue wire on the bottom. Lift the power supply so that the mounting holes line up with the little raised posts on the housing, which is, if you can see that right, you can't see that right there with my finger. We'll bring this nice and close so you can see. Right there on the bottom, there's a little raised post. It's a threaded post, and that's where the screw goes, and the power supply goes on top of that. And there's our screw. So we'll screw this back in place. See, I'm not totally on it. Oh no, I am on it. Okay. And then we get our screw on the other side, same thing. We want to put that back in place. And again, there's a little piece of plastic on this side. It's like a little shield. So you might have to put the screw on first inside the power supply, but I got that one in, and this one is in. And now we put back our wires the way they came out. So we've got our, and this is easy because they're pretty much in place, our brown on top, our blue underneath. And we're going to tighten down those screws. And the other one here. And our black and red wire are already in place. And that's it. We've swapped out a power supply. Other components, as we said, we've got a fan. And the only other two components you have on this light is underneath here. You'll see where this white cable is going. That's your 4-button push-button LCD display board. And you'll see that on the other side. There's your little LCD display board. And that's where it connects on the other side. If you ever needed to replace this, if you had bad digits and we send you a new one, these 4 screws and this unit drops out. This little plastic red plate is loose. It's not attached to the LCD display. You would, once this is loose, you would take this out, unplug the wire right here. Again, these are all modular, so these are easy to replace. And take off, there's 4 brass posts. 1, 2, 3, 4. Those are what the screws are going into on this side. So you want to take out those brass posts off the old LCD board and put them onto the new LCD board. Put the new LCD board in place. Put the red plastic underneath so that it sticks through the housing like it is here, and then put your 4 screws back in. Plug your little connector cable back in place. It's a little hard to do this while I'm trying to show it on the camera here. So let me just pull this aside. There we go. Make sure it's seated down all the way. And the last component, which you probably would never have to touch, underneath the fan, and I'll take the fan out so we can just take a look at that real quick. And the fan is just held in with 2 screws. If you do take the fan out, make sure you put it back the same way with the label side up. Label side up on the fan if you take it out and you put it back. And now the fan is sitting on 2 posts. Once you remove those 2 screws, just pick your fan straight up. There you go. And the last component you'll see inside here is our DMX socket board right there. And that is on the opposite side where your DMX cable or wireless DMX sticks plug into. We have your power out and your power in. And again, you can see those right here. There's the DMX board. There's the power out and the power in. And a DMX board is held in by 4 screws right here. Right there, 1, 2, 3, 4. And you would slide that out, pop a new one in, put the screws back in, plug in the 2 cables, and then that's done. But those almost never ever go bad. If it's anything, it's typically a power supply or a control board. So there you go. That's how to swap out parts on our Slick Par 5. Similar procedure also for the Slick Par quads, the Slick Par 6, or even our Tri-Pars. Hope this video was a help, and if you have any further questions, please feel free to give us a call here at Lumin Lights.